Welcome to the Last Scary podcast. We're back, and so I'd be here with Blake and Sabrina. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Great,
Just hanging out
excited.
tonight.
Yeah, excited to talk about Evil Dead, of course, of
Yeah.
all things.
It is always a great day to talk about Evil Dead. Although Evil Dead 2 was my favorite for a while, so this one has a special place in my heart.
Mhm.
Geez. So Blake, yeah, mate, what are your thoughts on how they handled the intro? I know I'm jumping straight into it, but I've been dying to talk to you about this bit of Evil Dead lore.
Yeah, this little bit even confused Sabrina right out of the gate when we started this one, which I didn't really even preface this one by saying anything. I was just like, this is a sequel. Just go into it knowing it is a sequel. And of course, it opens with a recap
Oh
of
my god,
the other
yeah.
movie, but it's different. Like, there's less characters. The circumstances of going to the cabin are different. And there's a very simple interview with Bruce Campbell where he explained it. It's a rights issue. They couldn't get the footage from the Evil Dead to show, and they couldn't get all the actors back, so they just said fuck it and used what they had to recreate a little recap. And I think by doing that, I mean, one, people assume it's like a full-on reboot of the story, which it clearly isn't. It picks up right where the last one ended off. But at the same time, it's just an excuse to get this movie rolling from, I think, 5 minutes of build-up. It really gets going, and from then on, the movie just gets crazier as you go. And I really do love the simple recap. Just, he's with Linda, and when things go wrong, just cuts her head off with that shovel, and then we get to where we are. But I think it was the best that they could do. It was a pretty simple rundown of the last movie. I think it works.
Fully agree. And Sabrina, with this being your venture into Evil Dead and kind of experience it all, so it threw you off track, right?
Yeah. So Blake had to say multiple times about the whole rights issue thing. Like, I went in kind of knowing that, but like some of it I was like, okay, it's not that bad, because I had that in my mind as I was like watching the intro, but then there's some things I was like, that's no, I don't like that. But I was just kind of rolling with it. But like, I mean, if that's kind of what they had to do, it's what they have to do. Like when it's a rights issue, so there's like really nothing you can do about it. You just kind of have to take it for what it is. But like, it can, when you're first watching it, like now going back, if I'm watching now, I'd be like, okay, now I know. I've seen everything. I know Ash. I know all this. But like, being like a first time watcher, I was just like, I was so thrown off, because I was just like, did we watch the same movie, the first one? Like, did we watch? I thought we were watching it in order too, because I was like, what? So it's like I said, like even though they went with what they could to kind of fix it and make it work, but like it still can get confusing if you're a first time watcher. But you know, now looking back, it's like props to them for doing what they could and just kind of rolling with it.
Right, of course. That's what I love about this team so much. They always just adapt, improvise, overcome with anything that comes their way when filming these movies. What do you feel like the differences tonally between the first one and the second one, and like that transition?
So from the first to second one, there's obviously more craziness from like the first one, because like the first one has to set everything up and like the tone and like where the rest, like I'm gonna say, franchise is going, to kind of like, so you know what you're getting into. It definitely was a lot crazier. But it worked, you know, like that. I kind of saw more. I was like, okay, this is like the campiness and like everything else people were really talking about. Not that the first one didn't have it, but it was just like that one really went like,
this one embraces it.
Yeah, like fully. Like,
Yes.
this was like, okay, we're gonna set it up. We're not gonna go too far yet, because it's the first movie. You don't want to throw people off or turn people off, whatever. The second one's like, all right, you've seen the first one. All right, just go head first in for the second one. That's exactly like
it was smart. They're all so similar yet so different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So, but that's what works. That's what, you know, makes them all, you know, good in their own right.
This might be a hot take. I don't know if we catch heat for this, but when I think about definitive Evil Dead and all the tropes, all the bits I love about Evil Dead, even though Army of Darkness is my favorite, I think of Evil Dead 2. I think of Evil Dead 2 as like,
Evil Dead's the foundation, or Evil Dead 2 is the foundation for why we love Army of Darkness and Ash versus Evil Dead.
Absolutely.
It gave birth to the slapstick humor of this franchise, which is my favorite part of it. That's the charm.
Yeah, because like we really didn't see it. Like, we saw that a little bit in the first one, but like like I
Yeah,
said,
but not
fully
nearly
embraced
as
it.
much as in this one.
Rush
Ash's
it.
one-liners and
Uh,
all that. Like this movie is where they found themselves. The
Mhm.
last one was like, we had a great idea, full-blown horror. This one, they're like, we can get a little experimental and be a little goofy, and the goofiness really worked. So they went more for that for the next one.
Fully agree that this is really where they kind of found a rhythm for Evil
Mhm.
Dead, and I love they embraced the campiness of it. They leaned into it instead of kind of leaning away, because the first one did have that unintentional campy moments that I
Mhm.
love the movie for, regardless.
Mhm.
So until recently, Blake, this was your favorite one, though, right?
Yes, I would say it still is. It is still
Okay,
my
okay.
favorite.
I didn't know if Army of Darkness changed if you flipped.
Army of Darkness is just not my least favorite anymore. Now I would,
Good.
Valid,
I even struggle after this. I can say this Evil Dead 2 is my favorite just because, like, what we talked about. When you think Evil Dead, you think of the things from this movie. That the moment that has always stuck with me from the first time I saw it is that deer head just cranking its neck and that
Oh.
maniacal laugh it has. Like, just, I love that scene in particular.
Big shout out to my lovely friend Paige that I grew up, childhood friend. She made that deer head in high school.
No way.
Really?
Yeah, she's super cool. I adore her to bits. So love you, Paige. This one's for you, obviously. She kind of
Aw.
introduced me to Evil Dead. Honestly, she's the reason why I like Evil Dead. So every time I see that deer head, I think of her. But no, you're completely right.
Every time people mention the fact that he's too goofy in like later sequels compared to how he started, I'm like, there's a whole scene dedicated to his mental breakdown.
Oh
That
my
Like,
the
God.
you
room
know, yeah,
laughing
like,
at
you
him
can't
with
just
him
after
bouncing.
that, after watching that, you can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, no, he's fine now. No, like for him to be like still fun, even in like Ash vs Evil Dead, like for him to still be doing this, like he's obviously still insane.
Yeah.
Like
Also,
no
you have to
normal person in
remember,
their right mind.
all three of those movies are back to back to back. Like Army of Darkness picks up where this one left off, and this one picks
So
up where
he's
the
just
last
like
one.
constantly doesn't have a break.
For at least 72 plus hours, because Army of Darkness is a few days.
Right.
It's just, he's in this chaos straight. He went from a weekend at this cabin to being sent back to medieval times to fight the undead in the span of 3 days.
I would probably be just like Ash if that happened to me too. But no, yeah, that scene is such a perfect example of just him like finally just snapping, and I love it. I love how it's such a great scene. I adore it, really. Yeah.
That scene is just him embracing the chaos of everything that's happened to him up until that point, and I think that's even the point in the movie where they start to introduce other subplots, because it's like, hey, this is where our story begins, essentially, in this spot right here. So yeah, that is probably my favorite.
That's a good one. That's a good choice.
Yeah, like just that deer head, I love it so much. And next to that one, it would be when he defeats Henrietta, the head on the ground saying, I'll swallow your soul, and he steps on its throne and is just like, swallow this, and blows its head away.
That's such a good moment. Oh man.
Those two are my favorites.
Also, side note, I could not stop thinking about that moment, the I'll swallow your soul moment, during Multiverse of Madness, where he had the souls like flying around him.
Yeah, with their little their high-pitched voices too. Yeah, that was very Sam Raimi.
It was like that one shot too that we talked about. It was like her like in the
reaching through the reflection.
Yeah, I was like, that's, oh my god.
I was like, that's literally like that type shot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Look, I forgot about that shot. So when I was rewatching the movies recently, that happened. I paused. I was freaking out to my friends. I was like, look, it's like literally, I told you.
Yeah. I leaned to my friend. I'm like, that's straight from Evil Dead. Like he brought it back.
I was like, I was like, that's an Evil Dead reference.
That's an Evil Dead reference. Also, it's Evil Dead trope that the main character fights an evil version of himself in everything. Which
the Delta. Don't forget the Delta.
The Delta, every single movie. Yeah.
Love the Delta. So like my we're Lord of the Rise. This is what we're prepping for another Evil Dead movie. We have a lot of excitement. Yeah. Does watching this and watching its charm and knowing that we're having a movie that we don't really know much about, we haven't seen anything from it, do you get a bit nervous?
Yes, because speaking of charm, they did say it's going to lack that slapsticky charm that we know from the original. It's going to be, Bruce Campbell himself said it's going to be more mature and like taken a little more seriously while still feeling like a part of the franchise. Like I'm sure the like the remake. Feels like it's part of the franchise, but it doesn't have that charm. Like it just doesn't have the. It takes itself seriously.
It doesn't. I don't feel like it's part of the.
I feel like it's part of it because of that exaggerated gore and blood. And that's very evil. Look at these pictures. Ash is always covered in blood. I want to say hi to Jordan, by the way. He's in the chat.
Hi, Jordan. What's up,
acknowledge him at all.
What do you think about Evil Dead 2? Let us know.
Hi, Jordan.
Do you have any other general thoughts or loves about this movie or anything that's kind of like makes it special to you outside of what we've gone over?
Outside of the charm and the slapstick humor, I think the practical effects. Like they with these low budget movies, even like Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have to bring it when it comes to practical effects because that's what your small budget, even if you have one, is going to go to, and just the effects on Dead-Eyed Ash and Henrietta alone with that stretched out head and her flopping everywhere.
That's so cool.
Such a fun movie. I feel like this franchise, maybe not the first Evil Dead, because that one again is a little more in your face about being serious. Evil Dead 2 would be a good start for a kid that's like 13, 14. Like, I want to get into horror movies. Start with Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
You can have fun with it. It's goofy with like the floating around and the boomstick and just how corny it can get by the end of it. It's fun and it is genuinely scary.
Yeah.
I think it balances both of those elements pretty well. So I think it's a perfect starter horror movie.
No, that's a really good point, honestly. Like I said, I agree. I wouldn't suggest the first one for a few reasons.
Few reasons, yeah.
But 2 would be pretty appropriate fit. Bruce Campbell, man. Sam Raimi loves to torture that man.
Jesus.
I know.
Yes.
Absolutely. Jordan.
Oh, yeah. It makes my top 2.
Idea. First of all, I'm going to say this every time we talk Evil Dead, but Bruce Campbell is such a good physical actor.
Oh, yeah.
He's so good at fighting himself. He's so good at just getting into the moment, like just chewing it up. And I love that about him. I love seeing that here.
I don't think I'll tire of seeing that with him.
Do you guys have anything else about Evil Dead 2 before we jump into some other spooky topics?
I think we nailed Evil Dead 2.
But I'm happy to say that like now, because like I said, I always heard of like Evil Dead and like Evil Dead 2. And like I remember seeing like the iconic posters and like not knowing anything about what the movie was about. So basically I went in and like what I got out of it was not what I was expecting. And that's not, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean that in the best way possible. Like I love that I didn't know anything going into this because like I'm gonna sound like really fake right now, but like I heard Bruce Campbell's name before, but like not like, oh my god, like that's him, like until I watched Evil Dead, because I was like, everybody, because I remember when everyone was talking about him making a cameo in Multiverse Madness, everyone was freaking out. I was like, I don't know who that is.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, I was like, why is everyone freaking out? I was like, I have no idea who he is. And then Blake was like, all right, we need to change that. And I was like, okay. And we watched it, and I was like, and then I felt bad because I was like, why have I not known about this series? And that's like my favorite thing ever, and I'm obsessed. And like I love Bruce Campbell, and I'd probably cry if I ever met him. So like that's why I'm like, I hate them so late to the party.
I don't think you can ever be too late to become a fan of something, though, to be fair.
Absolutely.
No, yeah.
I just
feel like embarrassed because I was like, even in Multiverse Madness, like during that, I was like, everyone was like, yeah, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, Sabrina, if it makes you feel better, whenever I find out a friend or someone, a loved one hasn't experienced one of my favorite things, it makes me excited because I get to share that with them.
I mean, you got an Evil Dead shirt on today.
Yeah,
you became a fan.
What did I say though that I heard? I was like, oh yeah, I was talking about Ash. I was like, is that when he gets the chainsaw hand?
Yeah, when we started the first movie, I was like, do you know? Yeah, you got the chainsaw right over your shoulder there. I said, do you know anything about these movies? And you're like, and I'm like, yes, he has a chainsaw hand.
That is like, a good way to sum it up.
I was like, I think he has a chainsaw hands, and I thought it was happening in the first one, and it didn't happen. So I was like, when's this happening? And he's like, just wait. And then it happened in the scene. I was like, so that's why it's my favorite scene, because like that I knew going into that, I knew he was gonna get a chainsaw hand, but I was not like the build up for it, and like it in context was perfect. It was like best thing ever.
Yeah, he walks around for most of that movie with a little nub and not anything.
I love that you can tell that his nub is just his fist.
Oh yeah, it's just
You can see it under the thing. Oh man, I love Evil Dead so much. That's a great
I know.
series.
Now
Yeah.
it's like my favorite like horror franchise like ever. It was Halloween, and now I think it's this.
It's Evil Dead and Scream for me all day. I could watch them
Both
on endless loops.
franchises are quality over quantity, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you're a
Yeah,
comic reader, then there's a lot of quantity when it comes to Evil Dead.
Yeah, I ran across them at work the other day. It always makes me smile. But you're right, and that's one of the things I love about Evil Dead so much, that Nightmare, Halloween, Friday, they don't have the same treatment that Evil Dead got, and I'm very
No.
thankful for that.
Yeah, because Evil Dead's been ran by the same two people from the very beginning, and that's Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. They've kept a tight grip on it, even when losing the rights to their movies. They've kept a tight grip on all these.
I'm so
sequels.
glad for that.
Yeah, I mean, look where they've gotten it. It's such a great franchise, and it's.
I feel like with the way Bruce Campbell is wording himself, that it's going to still fit well into the series. Even if it takes itself a little bit more seriously, I feel like that we're going to see something that's different than what we saw with Evil Dead 2013.
With Rise?
With Rise, we're going to see something different.
Yeah,
than that.
it's like I mentioned with the potential ending of Halloween Ends. I'm very okay with risks and trying to change things up when you're on number 5 or 10 or whatever it is. And I think Evil Dead, the 2013 one, definitely did that. And that's what Rise is doing as well. But I feel like Rise is going to hit that original nostalgia better than the remake did, because I don't think this one's really going to try to be a stealth sequel like the 2013 one did. This one will be like it's a part of that. We're just changing locations, changing characters. So, and that's the smartest thing they can do.
My mindset perfectly, Blake. Seriously, it's something about it feels like they're gonna fit more into the world more. Like, and they're not really trying to be. They're not going to alienate the Evil Dead fans in some degree.
Oh no, absolutely
is what I'm going for here. I just feel like it's going to be a different perspective, a different take, but still an Evil Dead movie first and foremost, which I think I'd prefer over someone trying to be Sam Raimi.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You can't do that. You have to make it your own, and if that's the case, you have to make it good.
You gotta make it good.
You have to be a fan of it at the end of the day. Like that's how you can tell a good story when you're not the original creator. You have to love this this world, and you have to know what makes it work and why you love it, and hopefully bring that same passion to the story.
You can always tell the difference. I fully believe you can always tell the difference when a filmmaker is passionate about what they're working with, and they know it, and they're a big fan. Matt Reeves. I mean, Matt Reeves. Come on.
Yeah. He knows Batman. He knows why Batman is so loved.
I'll cry. No, stop. I'll cry. Every time I think about it, I just want to cry, because like that's what I wanted. Like, I knew the second he talked about it at fandom, I was like, this is the director I wanted to have like the grip on my favorite character, and like, he's in good hands. I could sleep peacefully at night knowing that like the future of him is now finally in good hands with someone who gets it.
You can tell by what they say, and their work speaks for itself.
Batman fans are thriving right now. I couldn't be more jealous.
Yeah. Yes, Jordan, we all knew Batman would be mentioned at some point.
It has to be.
I didn't say it this time. You did. Y'all did. I was good.
With that being said. Oh no, I went blurry. Wow, okay.
That scared me. I was like, no, what?
The Deadites are after me. Bruce Campbell, please come save me.
Please.
Thank you guys for joining. Like I said, this is the highlight of my week. I love doing the show with you guys. Blake, Sabrina, you guys are amazing.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk horror with our favorite people.
It's so much fun.
It is just beautiful. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. Last Scare. We are updating horror news. We're updating content. We will be getting some pre-recorded episodes up for reviews and stuff like that. Yeah, it's been great. And we will see you guys next week